Welcome. Thank you for joining us on this edition of News 2. I'm Sandra Guman saying, topping our newscast, the VI GOP opposition fired back yesterday at a press conference that they called a stunt by Chairman John Canegata. They're also calling for a new election to choose a new chairman to replace Canegata, who they said could not properly discharge his duties. News 2's April Knight has that story.
Republican Holland Redfield said it's just another publicity stunt. Redfield, the national committeeman for the VI GOP, refers to Wednesday's press conference called by State Chairman John Canegata, announcing the results of polygraph tests taken by a few VI Republicans. Former FBI agent and polygraph professional Scott Wigman said Canegata and 5 others were truthful in their accounts of how Gwen Brady started the physical altercations in this controversial GOP meeting.
We use the wording "no deception indicated," and that is the outcome of the polygraph examination for the 5 people that I tested here on the island.
But Redfield said this only proves that they're, quote, pathological liars. He said he's waiting instead for the courts to make a decision on the incident. Meanwhile, this document's been making the rounds and is gaining signatures. Citing party rules, it expresses a lack of confidence in Canegata and urges him to call for a convention on May 28th, where they'll elect a new chairman. If Canegata doesn't respond within 72 hours, they're calling for the convention themselves. On the other side of the fight, Frederick Espinoza is suing for damages against certain individuals who've been defaming him, his lawyer shared on Wednesday.
It is our responsibility at some point in the future to show what damages Mr. Espinoza has suffered as a result of the negatory statement that have been made against him.
Reporting for News 2, I'm April Knight.
Vice Chairman Herbert Schonbaum has in fact already called for the convention, saying they've gotten the majority of signatures needed. They also said Canegata made it clear he won't call for the gathering. Well, good news for those holding their breaths. In keeping with the pledge that the Finance Department would immediately process checks for tax refunds, Commissioner Vladimir Collins has announced that more than 3,500 tax refund checks related to 2015 filings were delivered to the United States Post Office on Thursday afternoon. These represent the first batch of 2015 income tax refunds that were transmitted to the Department of Finance from the Internal Revenue Bureau earlier this week. There are 3,592 checks going out, totaling more than $10 million. On Wednesday, Collins announced that his office had received the necessary information from the IRB in order to move forward with the processing of the returns. Well, during Wednesday's meeting of the Virgin Islands Public Finance Authority, the board moved forward with plans to establish a $10 million revolving line of credit for the purchase of new equipment and vehicles for first responders and providers of other essential government services. The PFA also authorized its Executive Director, Vladimir Collins, and its Director of Finance and Administration, Joanne Bozzuto, to negotiate terms with Banco Popular in order to set up the credit line. The measure comes as a result of legislation recently signed into law by Governor Kenneth Mapp. The PFA also approved funding in the amount of $105,850 to upgrade the D.C. Canegata Ballpark on St. Croix. The island will be hosting the Regional Caribbean Little League Tournament from July 15th through July 24th, 2016, and renovations are necessary. The PFA moved to approve spending $10,000 to finalize the HVS destination study necessary in order to move the St. Croix branded hotel project forward. Governor Mapp said the HVS study is essential in the effort to attract an international hotel brand to the Big Island. Well, the Committee on Rules and Judiciary met this morning at the Fritz Louette's Legislative Conference Room on St. Croix and continued late into the afternoon to consider the following governor's nominations for Mr. Jomo Meade, Esquire, Mr. Harold Willocks for Judge of the Superior Court of the VI. Chairperson was Senator Kenneth Gittens, Vice Chairperson Senator Jeanette Millen-Young. After giving the closing remarks, both were voted favorably to the full body for further considerations. Nominations continue on Friday. Around 8:25 a.m. this morning, the 911 Emergency Center dispatched officers to 22 High Rise in reference to a shooting The victim was already transported to the hospital via private vehicle. 28-year-old Kaleem Stevens told officers he was in the area when he heard shots fired towards the wall he was standing against. He then felt pain to his leg and realized he was wounded. Stevens said he is unsure as to who would want to shoot him and why. Here's more.
Stevens continued by stating that he felt pain to his leg and realized he was wounded. He was then transported to the hospital via private vehicle. Kaleem Stevens sustained 2 bullet wounds to his left leg and is still being treated for his injuries sustained during the incident. Anyone having information about this crime may notify Major Crimes at 340-714-9823, extension 5617, Criminal Investigations Bureau at 340-714-9807, extension 556, Crime Stoppers or the Chief's Office at 340-774-2211.
Meanwhile, the family of Creola Jones is appealing for help in the search of the missing woman. The 41-year-old disappeared after arriving on the island of St. Croix with her husband. Here's more.
Her mother did not hear from her and after several weeks became worried. Creola is described as a gentle and caring woman whose disappearance is out of character. She's approximately 5 feet 7 inches and has black dreadlocks, hair, and brown eyes. Police is urging anyone who sees Creola to contact 911 immediately and advise that it is an emergency. For further information, you can contact Detective Kai Joseph at 340-712-6047 or Detective Naomi Joseph at 340-712-6092. I'm Glenn Drade, Public Information Officer for the Virgin Islands Police Department.
In other news, the Virgin Islands Centennial is less than a year away. Already, local leaders are promoting the events and making preparations, but national leaders are also getting involved. Recently, the U.S. House of Representatives passed H.R. 2615, which could draw national attention to the history and current challenges of the territory. News2's April Knight has more.
The countdown to the Centennial continues. In the Virgin Islands, leaders like Senator Myron Jackson are getting ready for the big day next year. But preparations are also being made in Washington. Recently, the House of Representatives unanimously approved a bill pushed by Delegate Stacey Plaskett and Utah Representative Jason Chaffetz that would create a Congressional Centennial Commission for the Virgin Islands.
This bill creates a bipartisan congressional commission to plan and carry out commemorative activities for the 100th anniversary of the Virgin Islands becoming an unincorporated territory of the United States.
According to Delegate Plaskett, the Centennial is not necessarily a celebration because 100 years into American rule, Virgin Islanders are still unable to enjoy the full privileges of American citizenship, and that's in spite of their contributions and sacrifices.
It took a decade of petitioning and lobbying to be given citizenship, and we asked for and petitioned again to be part of a draft. What people willingly offer their sons to fight and die, except those wholly willing to be part of the entire American experience.
Plaskett reminded Congress of the many opportunities available in the VI.
Opportunities like our ports and transshipment position, our broadband capacity, our intellectual and artistic pursuits, our university, which serves as the only HBCU in the Caribbean, and most important, our people.
Chaffetz, who's Republican, urged his colleagues to also visit the Virgin Islands and learn its culture and history.
I hope everybody gets a chance to visit there. Our daughter, on a personal note, was able to work there this past summer for 3 months, and she thoroughly enjoyed the people and the culture and the sheer beauty that is the Virgin Islands.
Reporting for News 2, I'm April Knight.
The University of the Virgin Islands 2016 commencement ceremonies began today on St. Thomas. Students walked proudly as their family and friends cheered them on from the bleachers. Their professors also showed support and congratulations for their years of hard work. The university awarded more than 200 degrees across its schools and colleges to the St. Thomas students. Professor Sir Hilary Beckles, Vice Chancellor of the University of the West Indies, was the keynote speaker. Ruth Molinar received an honorary doctorate for her lifetime's work as an educator. The St. Croix ceremonies will be held on Friday, May 13th on the Albert Sheen campus, starting at 1:30 p.m. More than 100 degrees will be awarded at that ceremony. We will have highlights from both graduation ceremonies for you on Friday. Turn our attention overseas. Former House Speaker John Boehner supports Donald Trump, not any of his policies, during a question and answer session at a hedge fund conference in Las Vegas today. He said Donald Trump is the nominee whether people like it or not. Boehner, an Ohio Republican, made clear he would support the nominee, but that doesn't mean Boehner supports what Trump is pitching on the campaign trail. Boehner said he does not support Trump's proposed temporary ban on Muslims entering the U.S., his proposal to build a wall on the border of Mexico, nor his plan to aggressively use tariffs to attack foreign trade competitors. And Boehner said Trump's foreign policy stance, laid out in a speech 2 weeks ago, didn't align with his views. The Sunni terror group ISIS says it's behind a series of attacks in Iraq's capital Wednesday that targeted Shiites and left more than 90 people dead. At least 64 people were killed when a car bomb went off at a market in Baghdad, according to Iraqi police. Another 87 people were wounded in that attack in the largely Shiite neighborhood city, Sadr City. Blood marked the street, cars had their windows blown out, and nearly an entire sidewalk was left charred. Later in the day, a suicide bomber wearing an explosive vest detonated in a busy square in the Shiite neighborhood of Al-Qadamiyah, killing 17 people and wounding 43 others. Turning our attention to the eye on the economy, let's take a look at the New York Stock Exchange, at the Stock Market Watch. According to the numbers there, we can see the Dow up 9, NASDAQ and S&P both down. Coming up on News 2, if you do not buckle up, get in the habit. Click It or Ticket campaign is gearing up. Details coming up next. This week, the Virgin Islands Parole Board and others working in criminal justice took part in 2 days of training with the National Parole Resource Center at Government House on St. Croix. The board applied for assistance from the national organization in order to aid them in gaining additional information and expanding the use of best practices in their work. The Virgin Islands Parole Board was one of only 7 from across the United States selected to receive assistance from the NPRC during 2016. The goals of this technical assistance were to aid the Parole Board in developing tools that may assist them. Well, you will be noticing more police on the streets, and that's because the Virgin Islands Police Department is now enforcing the Click It or Ticket initiative. The enforcement is a nationwide campaign which analyzes the usage of safety belts. If you choose not to wear a seatbelt, you will get a ticket. Here's more. Buckle up, it's the law. If you don't wear a seatbelt, you may want to change that habit.
It's that time of year, click it or ticket. Everyone should use their seatbelts, booster seats, car restraints, any form to make sure that you are not ticketed by the police department.
And the ticket is $50. The VIPD, along with the Highway Public Safety, will be conducting the Click It or Ticket initiative from May 16th to June 5th.
Click it or ticket is a nationwide enforcement mobilization in which we target and encourage seatbelt use. We target violators of not using seatbelts, and we continue to encourage parents to buckle up their children.
There is a law which states that seatbelts must be used. With the increase of car accidents and motor-related deaths, seatbelts are known to save lives.
This year, the National Highway Traffic Safety Administration awarded the territory $608,000 to conduct the Click It or Ticket mobilization.
VIPD members say there has been a number of tickets issued.
Ever since a year has started, we have already gotten over 700 tickets territory-wide. Last year, our seatbelt usage rate was the lowest ever since we've started the Click It or Ticket mobilization. It was 66.1%. However, in 2015, we redeemed ourselves, and we're now at 82.7%.
Officials are hoping that this initiative will enlighten people.
Police will be out citing violators of the law.
Again, if you are ticketed for not wearing a seatbelt, it will cost you $50 for the first infraction. After that, the fees may increase. As Police Week events continue, coming up on Friday on St. Croix, there is a candlelight vigil at 5 p.m. at the Ann Abramson Pier, remembering all of our brothers and sisters in blue that have passed on. Then on Saturday, May 14th, on St. Thomas, officers will be observing Peace Officer Memorial Parades. All participants are required to line up by 9 a.m., and that parade commences at 10 a.m. from the Emil Griffith Ballpark to the Alexander Farrelly Criminal Justice Complex. There will also be a 21-gun salute and laying of the wreath, followed by a prayer. All government agencies, along with community organizations and members, are invited to come out and participate. In an effort to best accommodate the territory's special needs children, the Office of the Governor is offering free training to summer camp providers. Territorial Coordinator for the Americans with Disability Act, Jamila Russell, said the one-day workshop will assist those running programs to help ensure that all children have a good experience this summer. On St. Thomas and St. John, that training will be held on June 1st, and on St. Croix, the training will be held on June 3rd. Ms. Russell urged those interested to sign up now, but that registration will be open until May 27th. And the number to contact Ms. Russell is 340-772-1000 or 340-227-2348. The Yvonne Galabert Ashley Galabert Breast Cancer Foundation educates and advocates for breast cancer patients and survivors to make sure those who are medically uninsured and underserved get the best possible health care they can get. The second annual Mammathon, Saturday night from 8 p.m. to 1 a.m. at the Palms on Pelican Cove, will feature dance contests with prizes including trips, jewelry, spa treatments, and more. This is one of YAG's most important fundraisers.
Our fundraisers throughout the years are geared towards raising money for mammograms. And as you know, a mammogram is the x-ray that helps to detect breast cancer. Early detection is a very important part of fighting breast cancer.
This event is extremely important. One mammogram costs $318 for someone who doesn't have health insurance. That's a lot of money for some people. So we are trying to raise as much money as we can.
And this is our way of doing this, to get the money so that we can afford to give mammograms for men and women who don't have the money to buy it.
The Commissioner of the Department of Licensing and Consumer Affairs, Devin Carrington, notifies the public that the department has been closely observing after they have received several reports from consumers concerning the deplorable conditions in supermarkets, ranging from unclean floors to shelves that are dirty and disarray. The owners of these establishments are reminded that the Commissioner has the authority to revoke, suspend, or refuse to renew the license of any licensee where that licensee allows or permits at the licensed place of business any improper or wrongful behavior of a substantial character and of public concern, especially health. DLCA is currently forming a consumer advocacy group to report and address what the issues are. You can call the DLCA for more information. Well, they lost a son to gun violence, and now they're holding an annual event to prevent the same thing from happening to other parents. Former Judge James Carroll and his wife, Celia, are asking the community to support their annual walk-run against gun violence. That event is on May 22nd, Sunday, starting at 4 p.m. at the Coast Guard dock. You can get tickets at Caribbean Surf and Celia's Boutique in Red Hook.
The idea behind the walk run is to raise the consciousness of the community about gun violence and youth violence. Governor Mapp on April 12th of this year declared that May 22nd would be Crime and Gun Violence Prevention Day. And in his proclamation, he calls for the residents of this community to participate in the walk run and to participate in the activities on the day of the walk run.
The walk run has become a voice for many parents who have lost their loved ones through gun violence. We have family members come out with t-shirts of their loved ones. We also have a memorial wall where parents who have lost their loved ones can come out and memorialize their loved ones who died senselessly through gun violence.
Be sure to go out and support that. Put that on your calendar. Stick around. Your News 2 AccuWeather forecast is coming up next.